what this bending over backwards and pandering to women and pandering to the WNBA, this is literally, and without Caitlin Clark, and they took a shot at Caitlin Clark in this story, but without Caitlin Clark, everybody knows no way in hell A'ja Wilson sniffs this award. They have diminished Caitlin Clark, the greatest gift they ever had. That's unprecedented.
Time Magazine Star Player of the Year, A'ja Wilson, just released a sizzling statement about her rivalry with Caitlin Clark, and fans on both sides are pitted against each other. It's no news. The WNBA is growing faster than it ever had. Caitlin Clark has become the most visible rookie the league has ever seen. Ratings are up, arenas are fuller, and yet the mood has changed from celebration to discomfort almost overnight. What makes this moment different is not conflict between players. There's a deeper tension causing a rift like no other. And it begs the question, why does star-driven growth feel controversial here when it rarely does anywhere else? Welcome. Stay with me because this is more serious than we thought.
It's noise that I don't really listen to, honestly, because I'm in season. I have other things that we need to worry about than what other people have to say. I have a scout, I have 11 other minds on my team and in my locker room that we got to make sure that we're on the same mindset. So I really can't give you the best answer on that because I really don't pay any attention to it. My goal is just to go out there and be the best that I can be for my teammates, both on and off the court, and we're going to go out there and be us.
To understand this reaction and why it is coming up now, let's slow down and look at what A'ja Wilson actually said. In interviews reported by Sports Illustrated and Time, Wilson spoke calmly and carefully. She did not criticize Caitlin Clark as a player. She did not deny Clark's impact, and she did not frame Clark as a problem. Her concern was about narrative. Wilson explained that during the surge of attention around Clark, parts of the league's history was briefly erased, not ignored forever, but pushed aside in the rush to crown something new. She talked about the women who carried the league through years of low pay, low coverage, and little recognition. For her, the worry was not about sharing space. It was about losing the story of how that space was built.
A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson is a very good basketball player. And if you don't count the special whistle, the special non-whistle that allows her to get away with the illegal screens that she does, because 99.9% of her screens are illegal. So I mean the moving screens, the hip checks, the legs wider than the frame of the body, allowing her to have extra space to get her shot off. Even if you don't consider those things, you still have to call her a good basketball player.
Wilson also acknowledged something many critics overlook. She openly recognized that Clark drove ratings, attention, and new fans. She did not dispute the numbers. She also pointed out that the league continued to grow even while Clark was injured, which she viewed as proof of the WNBA's underlying strength. Taken together, her comments sound less like resentment and more like protection. You may have seen the headlines, but keep watching for the context.
Congratulations to A'ja for being Time's 2025 Athlete of the Year. Caitlin Clark won that award last year in 2024. And of course, there was all this controversy surrounding it. Sheila Johnson, why can't all the players be on the cover? Remember that? And then, of course, there were the comments from Caitlin Clark. I did a live stream on that. I did videos after that. A lot of people being upset because she agreed with the whole concept of white privilege and all that.
Some parts of this story, however, are not subjective. They are measurable. Caitlin Clark's rookie season aligned with the most-watched WNBA regular season in 24 years. That is not an opinion. It is reported data. Games involving the Indiana Fever averaged around 1.18 million viewers. Games without the Fever averaged closer to 394,000. The difference is historic. Beyond television, the league had seen record attendance, record merchandise sales, and record digital engagement across platforms. More people showed up. More people bought jerseys. More people followed teams and players online. That kind of surge does not happen by accident.
You know, golfer of the year. What this bending over backwards and pandering to women and pandering to the WNBA, this is literally, and without Caitlin Clark, And they took a shot at Caitlin Clark in this story. But without Caitlin Clark, everybody knows no way in hell A'ja Wilson sniffs this award. This is, it's.
This is like that weird woman, Cynthia Erivo, if she'd win like an Academy Award. But Jace, all I have to say about the WNBA and how no one cares about it, you even gave up on the league this year. Case closed.
Had no choice.
Acknowledging this does not erase anyone else's greatness. It does not diminish champions, MVPs, or legends who came before. Sports history shows that growth moments often center on one figure temporarily. That figure becomes a doorway. Once people walk through, they discover the rest of the house. If we look through recent history, this has happened before in the NBA. It happened in tennis. It happened in soccer. So Clark's impact fits a familiar pattern. What makes this moment tense is not the growth itself, but how uncomfortable people seem acknowledging it. Hit like if you believe facts should matter more than feelings.
I don't want to relive that, just refreshing your memory. However, in spite of the controversy and people even being upset with Caitlin because she gave in to the bullies, you still have to respect the manner in which Caitlin carries herself, the grace with which she can accept an award, the credit that she is willing to give other people for inspiring her. You gotta love it.
There is a kind of expectation placed on women's sports that rarely exists elsewhere. They are asked to grow without leaning too heavily on stars, to celebrate everyone equally, to spread attention evenly. That sounds fair on paper, but it is not how sports history actually works.
It's over. I was relieved.
Look,
You know.
let me tell you what A'ja Wilson and the WNBA's greatest accomplishment is. And I say this in all seriousness, and I want your reaction to it. Their greatest accomplishment has been destroying Caitlin Clark. That's like, you took something that special that could have been a gift to give you. Caitlin Clark's an afterthought right now. They have diminished Caitlin Clark, the greatest gift they ever had. That's unprecedented.
Men's leagues have never apologized for star-driven growth. The NBA never worried about Michael Jordan overshadowing the league. His image became the league. LeBron James was marketed for years as the center of the sport itself. No one asked whether the NBA could survive without him while he was still in his prime. The assumption is simple. Stars lift leagues. Now contrast that with the WNBA conversation. Star-driven growth is treated as something that must be justified, balanced, explained away. The league is often asked to prove it is bigger than any one player immediately, even in the middle of a breakout moment.
This is frustrating. It really is kind of frustrating because, just when you thought you were out, you get pulled right back in. And that's the toxic discourse around Caitlin Clark and race and other things when it comes to the WNBA. Why do I say that today? Well, A'ja Wilson won Time Athlete of the Year. I would like to say congratulations to A'ja Wilson. I love that cover. That looks awesome. A'ja is awesome, an amazing basketball player, certainly deserving of the award. It's interesting because it now makes it 2 years in a row.
This is not an accusation. It is an observation. When women's sports rise through icons, the growth is questioned. When men's sports do the same, it is celebrated. The standard changes quietly, but it changes all the same.
Well, not everybody loves it, I guess. But people who like high character gotta love it. Excuse the bad English. I don't care how good a basketball player A'ja is. And we're going to go through some of these awards that she's won, the accolades, all of it. But no matter how good a basketball player she is, no matter how many times she tells us how good she is not the person that Caitlin Clark is. And she could learn a few things.
Timing has a way of reshaping meaning. Caitlin Clark's injury did more than remove a player from the court. It shifted the tone of the entire conversation almost overnight. As soon as she was sidelined, new narratives began to surface. Stories about league independence, about sustainability, about proving the WNBA was bigger than any one name. A'ja Wilson did not celebrate the injury or tried to frame it that way. But for many fans, the sequence still felt jarring. The star who brought them in disappeared, and almost immediately, the story moved on. Even if that was not the intention, the effect was real. Fans are not just watching games, they are forming attachments. When those attachments are suddenly treated as replaceable, it can feel like dismissal. Not because the league lacks strength, but because the emotional investment is not acknowledged.
She could learn how to give credit where credit is due. She can learn to just say thank you, talk about her game humbly, and keep it moving. She could get a grip on reality. I don't even want to come at A'ja, but I have to. Because that article and comments that were made are mind-blowing to me.
Now, this is where perception overtakes intent. You can be technically correct and still lose trust. Timing shapes how messages land. It decides whether something feels respectful or rushed. And once that feeling sets in, facts alone rarely undo it. If timing matters as much as truth, you'll want the next part. At its core, this tension is not personal. A'ja Wilson represents continuity. She stands for legacy, stability, and the long road the league traveled to reach this moment. Caitlin Clark represents acceleration. She brings visibility, cultural entry points, and a surge of new attention. Both roles matter. Without builders, there is nothing to grow. Without accelerators, the growth stalls. Leagues rarely expand in smooth lines. They expand through friction, through moments where past and future collide and force uncomfortable conversations.
All the way to the right.
Hey, A'ja and Brianna, Aya Abdeen for Arizona PBS Crockett News. So I'm curious to know how Caitlin Clark and A'ja Reese both handled pressure as first All-Star players tonight.
Yeah, I feel like they handled it well, just like a lot of rookies would. This is a big moment. This is All-Star break. That means that you're doing something good at the halfway mark. I think they just played their game. They were who they were. And that's all you can ask for. But it's always good when you have rookies in here to just get a taste of the All-Star game and just have fun out there. It's a good fan experience. I'm glad the fans got to see them play on the same team. I know that's a lot when they're on their separate teams. So I think they did pretty good.
Wilson's perspective carries weight because of who she is. She is one of the most decorated players in league history, a multiple-time champion, a perennial MVP. Time even named her Athlete of the Year in 2025. Her voice does not come from insecurity. It comes from investment. There's nothing Clark's rise can do to erase that. And Wilson's legacy does not block progress. They exist in the same story, even if the story feels tense right now. Type yes in the comments if you think leagues need both builders and accelerators. Every story serves someone, even when it claims neutrality. When media framing shifts toward emphasizing the league over the star, there are clear beneficiaries of that framing. As you know, broadcasters want stability. A product that does not appear dependent on one person is easier to sell long-term. Sponsors want reassurance that their investment will hold, even if a single name disappears. Leagues want bargaining power that is not tied to one contract, one injury, or one personality.
Which can be taken two ways. One, it shows you where the WNBA is relative to the sports landscape now and where it has arrived. That is awesome. And then there is the other aspect of it, which I've been in a lot of meetings like this, and I know how it goes. I do wonder, and it's fair to speculate if, Clark won it last year and A'ja has this unbelievable year this year, do we have to give it to A'ja Wilson? Or will there be blowback in regards to that? And I know those conversations happen. That's all independent of whether Asia Wilson deserves it.
All of that makes sense from a business perspective, but once you look at it, there is a risk built into that approach. If fans feel the very reason they arrived is being minimized or brushed aside, trust begins to erode. People do not like being told their excitement was temporary or misplaced. They want to feel understood, not managed. Honoring a star's impact does not weaken a league. History shows the opposite. Leagues grow stronger when they openly acknowledge the figures who pulled them forward. Pretending growth happened evenly or naturally often creates more skepticism than honesty ever would. A league can be bigger than one player, while still admitting that one player changed everything. Those two ideas are not in conflict, and there's no reason they should ever be. Hit subscribe if you believe fans deserve honesty about what drove growth.
From a person who just received a prestigious award, if you find time and its political leanings, and yes, it has a political leaning, it's why they focused on what they did in Caitlin's article. It's why they brought up what they did in Asia's article. But I'm going to put this on Asia because she's grown enough and she should be professional enough to do better than she did in these comments. I find them...
Stepping back, this whole issue reveals something oddly important, and that is the fact that the WNBA has crossed into a new territory. It now has stars big enough to create narrative tension. A few years ago, that wasn't the case. It tells you that leagues do not argue about relevance until relevance exists. Disagreement often signals transition. It is what happens when a sport moves from niche to mainstream. Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson are not opposing forces in this story. They are connected. One represents acceleration. The other represents the foundation. Together, they show how far the league has come and how far it can still go. When stripped down to its core, this story is simple. While Asia Wilson is asking for the league's history to be remembered, Caitlin Clark is changing the scale of attention almost overnight. And the media is struggling to hold both truths at the same time.
To evaluate Asia Wilson other than, a truly special basketball player. Like, no way. There's no way. But when I bring up that second point, it jives and it matches with what Asia Wilson actually had to say. And this is an excerpt from the article. And again, like, I wish I was just talking about what Asia did, and I guess I could, but Asia turned that entire team around. The Aces were dead in the water. I would have voted for Asia Wilson MVP, full stop. No questions asked.
Men's leagues have never apologized for star power. They have built dynasties around it. The question now is whether women's basketball will be allowed the same freedom, the freedom to grow unevenly, to celebrate icons without fear, and to honor the past without slowing the future.
Caitlin Clark, I'm sure you saw, just became the all-time scoring leader in women's college basketball. I'm curious, where would you rank her amongst all-time college players, in your opinion?
Ooh. That's tough because you got to win one. I feel like that college is one of those spaces where you got to win one for them to even have your name in the conversation. And it took me 3 years to win mine, so it's hard. But congratulations to her. I know my teammate KP was just like, yeah, that's huge. That's a lot of points, and that don't take that for granted. They were getting them up 100%. So congratulations to her. But I think she got to win her one to really kind of have her name in that. But I mean, she's always going to be a great player for Iowa and for the game as a whole. But yeah, winning one is pretty huge in college.
Right now, this tension does not necessarily signal division. If anything, it shows that the WNBA is no longer fighting to be seen. It is negotiating how it wants to be understood. Any growth is always uncomfortable before it becomes a new normal. And right now, the discomfort is proof that something real is happening in the WNBA. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think the little ruffle between Asia and Caitlin will lead to significant changes in the WNBA?